we looked a lot at the question of how religion affects people's characteristics as good citizens and as good neighbors. And I'm going to be summarizing now in a couple of sentences a lot of elaborate data, so I'm going to be speaking, a little loosely, but I'm staying pretty close to the data. Religious people are, how shall I put this technically, nicer than non-religious people. That is to say, by a lot of measures, religious people, they're more likely to give to charity and they're more likely to give to secular charities than secular people are. It's not just they put money in the church plate, but they also are more likely to give to secular charities. They're more likely to volunteer, a lot more likely to volunteer, and for secular causes as well as volunteering to be church usher. They're more likely to work on community projects. They're more likely to work for social reform in there, so it's not just all these pro-life rallies. If you go to the groups of people who are engaged in social reform around America, they're disproportionately composed of religious folks. Religious people are more likely to put money in a panhandler's plate. They're more likely to let people cut in front of them. We don't actually have data on helping old ladies across the street, but I'm totally confident that religious people are more likely to help the less fortunate, because it's a very consistent finding, and it's true with a ton of statistical controls, so we're looking at the effects of religion and not some spurious relationship here. It's not clear that God has much to do with that, or rather, if God does it, here's how he does it. It's not related to theology at all. That is to say, it's not people who believe more firmly in God who are, in that sense, nicer. It's people who have more denser relations, personal relationships with other people in their congregation or their religious community. It's not faith per se. It's communities of faith that matter for our data show whether people are good citizens or not and whether they're happy or not. Now, I don't want to make it sound like I'm gilding the lily here. It's also true that on average, people who are more involved in religion are a little less tolerant of dissent, and above all, they're a little less tolerant of homosexuals. And I don't want to try to say that religious people are in all respects paragons of civic virtue, but on average, religious people are more likely to be involved in community life. That is to say, religious people are people who are involved in religious networks are more likely to be good citizens. And here's the striking point: if you pray and are deeply devout and you believe in God and you really, really believe in God and so on, but you sit alone in the pew and you don't go to the church suppers, statistically speaking, you look like a secular person. You're not happier, you're not any more engaged in community life than a secular person. Conversely, if you actually are an unbeliever, but you nevertheless go to church suppers, perhaps you're going because your spouse is taking you along, you look just like a religious person in terms of how nice you are. It's those church suppers. Right. Now, what is it about religious church friends that makes them so special? We don't quite know. It's a really interesting question. Why are church friends so much more powerful than other friends in bringing people into civic life? But here's the short summary sentence. Bowling together is better than bowling alone, but bowling in church leagues is even better.